Sean Haney here with RealAgriculture.com, and I'm joined right now by Jeff Dima. He is the president of Machinery Link. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Doing great this morning, Sean. Thank you.
Now, Jeff, I was surfing the web last week, and I came across this story in the Washington Post which described Machinery Link as the Uber for tractors. And it got my attention, obviously, very quickly. Uber's a very interesting concept, but fitting in agriculture, what is Machinery Link?
Well, it's really agriculture's first internet-based equipment sharing platform. So we do kind of think of it as the Uber for ag or the Airbnb of ag. You know, we start with a simple thesis that agriculture is one of the most capital-intensive sectors of our economy, and it's also one that we have a lot of assets that sit idle for long periods of the year. So we thought that the sharing concept would lend itself very nicely to agriculture.
You know, because traditionally, farmers are very capital-intensive businesses, right? So, let's use combines as the example. A combine could cost upwards of $500,000. Use it for maybe 1 month, maybe for 2. It's a significant investment. Is that really what makes renting so appealing to a lot of your customers?
That is precisely the challenge farmers face. The equipment continues to get more and more expensive, and frankly, the use periods are actually shortening. People are taking a lot shorter periods to plant. It used to take, farmers in Iowa would plant corn across 6 or 7 weeks, to get most of the corn in the ground. Now that window has kind of shrunk to about a 2-week period where a majority of corn in Iowa gets planted, and I know that's true across the U.S. I suspect it's also accurate in Canada. So a lot of the farming activities that are happening within shorter windows. If there's an ideal date to put seed in the ground, well, you want to get as many acres planted as possible. So what that's causing is the usage periods to be higher. The peaks are higher, and the valleys are longer and lower as a result of that. So that actually kind of lends itself to a sharing model as well.
Yeah, I know there's probably some of our listeners that are listening to this and they're saying, yeah, Jeff, that's fine, but when I gotta go, and I can't afford to be waiting for my rental machine to show up. How do you manage the demand and basically that sharing concept to make sure people get the machinery when they need it?
Yeah, we are extremely sensitive to the when I gotta go notion. So what we really tell owners is who have the equipment that are interested in maybe generating revenue off of that piece of equipment is to think about the time they're going to need the equipment. Think of the earliest they've ever used it, the latest they've ever had to use it, and put a little cushion on each end of that. Put a couple of weeks on each side of that, and so black those dates out. Kind of make sure that you have yourself covered for when you need the equipment, but then make it available during those other periods. And there's different growing seasons, in different geographies. There's different crop cycles that someone else will be needing it when you don't. So we clearly tell the owners of equipment to make darn sure that you black out the periods where you're going to need the equipment, and put a little bit of cushion on each end of it. But again, when you're using a combine on average 7% of the year, which is just under a month, there's lots of flexibility. You can block a month ahead when you need it, a month while you're using it, and a month after you need it, just to kind of make sure you're covered, and still provide lots of available ability to other farmers to rent that machine from you and generate really passive income off of an asset that would otherwise be sitting idle in your shed.
So what does the traditional channel think of your business? Because, if I look at Uber as an example, in a lot of cities, taxi cab companies are not very happy. So in the traditional channel, from a machinery perspective, how do they feel about you?
They say timing is everything, and given the current challenges with commodity prices and markets, farmers are looking for ways to manage expenses and reduce revenues. So those of us who are aligned with farmers, I think, feel really favorably about this. Bankers actually have given us feedback that they like this model because it helps free up cash flow for farmers. It reduces the amount of deploy to manage their operations. A lot of farmers have had their operating loans slashed as a result of lower commodity prices. So it gives them a little bit, it gives them yet another option. Even input providers, we've had input providers kind of approach us to talk to farmer groups that they have, because they don't want farmers, switching out of the better hybrid that they'd like to use, to a lesser expensive one, or put down less chemical, less fertilizer than their agronomic, advisors are telling them. So they like it because it's all about the most efficient deployment of cash and capital. So we even have some dealerships who have posted some of their used equipment on our site just to make sure that they can generate revenue from, again, their assets that are sitting on a lot idle.
Makes a lot of sense. So what all can I rent? We've been talking about tractors and combines, but how wide of a scope does this cover?
Well, we launched our platform in fourth quarter of 2015, so for just several months ago, and it's just fantastic the type of reaction we're getting from the marketplace. There's a broad list. There's planters, sprayers, tractors, tender trucks. There's a wide listing. And if you go to machinerylinksharing.com, you can kind of search the site and see the wide availability and wide range of equipment that's available. And there's an awful lot of late model, very 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 nice equipment on that site that farmers are looking to rent out.
Now, one of the advantages that I see here is that I would be able to keep up to date on the latest and greatest in technology that's in the cab, right? So a lot of us, we buy a combine, some people only have it for a year, but a lot of people may have that combine for 10 years, right? So this is a way to, in a cost-effective way, get into the newest model quicker than you necessarily would. Probably, though, one thing that people are asking is, if I put my machinery up for to be rented, how do I know it's going to come back in the same piece? Because I take care of my stuff and other people don't. How do you manage that?
Yeah, so we have established this platform with kind of a community mindset. So we have a community of farmers who are interested in participating. They have set up user accounts, and when you do that, you kind of you have to attest that you will abide by certain community standards, and those community standards are really predicated on the golden rule, which is you're going to take care of that equipment as if it were your own, or maybe even better than if it were your own. We also have a rating system whereby owners rate the users and users rate the owners. So, you start to develop that online profile, which builds a lot of confidence in the system as well. And of course, we at Machinery Link ensure that the transaction is legitimate and that there's, proper insurance coverages for the machine from the time it leaves the owner's property until the time it returns. We do tell owners when they price the equipment to ensure that you price in the normal wear and tear that you would expect on a machine. So price that into the rate you're going to charge, because the owners do set the price. But anything that is damaged as a result of abuse or neglect or negligence is going to be borne by the user, and we help enforce that. That's one of the roles that we play at Machinery Link, and frankly, we have not had very very much of that happening at all. I think farmers, when they're getting a piece of equipment that they know is coming from another grower, they respect that, and they're professional about it, and they treat it the way you would want your equipment treated.
Yeah, so I'm sure two popular kinds of items on the site would be four-wheel drive tractors and combines. Can you give us an idea? And I know the user set the price, so the prices are always going to be different. Can you give our listeners a bit of an idea of what it could cost to, say, rent a combine?
We can pull up the site. If we had video, we'd be able to kind of show them, in real time. But those are two very popular items. In fact, because we have a history at Machinery Link in the combine leasing business, a majority of the transactions that we've seen so far have been for combines. And we have farmers who will post, let's say, an 8120 Case IH combine and charge $1,800 a day, and for 8 hours of usage during that day, and that's kind of a standard rate that you will see. So it's very competitively priced for both the owner to generate revenue, but also the user, again, to get access to a piece of equipment without having to deploy an awful lot of capital or go into debt to buy a piece of equipment. So it's kind of the ultimate win-win situation.
Now, so right now you're focused on the U.S. market. Plans to come to Canada?
Absolutely. In fact, we've had interest from Canadian growers, and given the close proximity, it makes an awful lot of sense, and would be the next area that we would be targeting. We have had interest from throughout the globe. Candidly, we've had growers from the UK, from India, from just some surprising places contact us. But we are in the U.S. now, and our ambition would be to expand internationally, and Canada would be a natural place to migrate to as well.
Okay, Jeff, I want to thank you very much for joining us. This has been a great conversation, and thanks for taking the time for the Real Ag audience today.
Well, Sean, thank you so much, and we appreciate the interest. And again, I would encourage listeners who are interested to go to machinerylinksharing.com to see more and learn more about the platform.
Okay, have a great day, Jeff.
Thank you, Sean. You too.